Yo. Urban Hippie
edition.
podcast coming in. I'll speak for this side of the table. Coming in medicated. Urban Hippie podcast, man. Special guest in the building. Josh Berman, head of Hash.
J Berm.
Among many other things, man. Formerly a PDA lounge. Part of the fabric, part of the roots of what we got going on today legally here in the cannabis space. Happy to have you on, man. So we did the first episode with my boys, three brothers and 3 Seattle firefighters now. Mm-hmm. But it's like sometimes you wish you could capture, what you had next door at the bar.
Oh yeah. We'll capture that, bro.
Yeah, but I think just sometimes, I think right now we know where the spotlight's on, right? Like you have to obviously conduct yourself accordingly, loved ones, friends, peers, future endeavors will all take a look at this someday, and it's sometimes I wish you could capture those raw moments, those unfiltered, when nobody's judging, right?
I used to try to do documentary film back in the day before the weed game and when I was working in the music game, and I was always like, well, how do you just get it? How do you make it real? Like, how do you get those real moments?
Yeah.
And the truth
is, R&B sexy voice. Put the tip towards you. Can tilt it a little bit. Yeah.
Tip it this way.
There you go.
And the truth is that you can't. Yeah. Like, that's like the fucked up reality and the fabric of life is like those moments. They're hard to capture, but what you can get is you can kind of get the essence. Yeah. And push that forward, and then like help other people have those moments.
It's beautiful, man. I thought we had some great conversation. And it's not like you said earlier. You wouldn't just do this for anybody, right? Because you never know what kind of positions you're going to be put in, especially as somebody who operates businesses and has a reputation to at least withhold in a business sense. It's you got to be careful what kind of positions you're putting yourself in. So I think it's beautiful. We'd met before. We obviously know each other.
For sure.
You didn't know this was me until I started walking down the stairs over here, and you're like, oh, we know each other, right? Whiskey Papi in the building, man.
I was like super, super relieved when I did see you, though.
And that's kind of what I mean. Is like,
because you're my boy, and the way up here, I was like, what the fuck am I gonna talk to Dustin about for all this fucking time, dude? Like, like you and I have had these long ass conversations.
It's beautiful,
before.
Man. And we've only met a few times,
True, but every time.
But even going into this, like, I was like, even though we've only met a few times, it took me a second to realize we'd only met a few times.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, because every time we hang out, we'll hang out for hours, and you'll tell me these crazy stories about Brazil, and I'll tell you these wild ass stories about what's going on up here, and we have the mutual San Diego relationship. Mm-hmm. So like, I think that it's what you guys are doing here is incredible. It's a sick location. Yeah. Dustin, I've known for.
Yeah, what are we at?
Whiskey Papi. It's Whiskey Papi.
Whiskey Papi up in. I've known this guy.
What's your name, man?
No, it's
Berm.
fine. Josh knows me as
shit.
Dustin,
what's your street name, man? What's your alias? If this was one of those documentaries, what's your street name? What's your alias?
My alias is like it's.
So
I think I'm the one guy in Seattle who has no alias. I think I'm just only known by my last name.
Just Berm.
It's Berm.
Yeah, like it's been that way since Franklin High School.
Berm.
And it was.
Is Berman the same one as the ESPN guy, Chris Berman? Is that the same one?
Yeah.
See, that's you riding a nice wave there. You catch a nice.
My tribe is super big. When you look up the Berman name, like we're everywhere.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, we're like one of these really powerful families in the world, I guess. But not that my family isn't though. Hopefully.
Right.
I hope I'm on that.
Let me cash that check like the Indians do.
I'm working on it. People claim I am, and I'm like, really?
I know. You ever
like, you see my bank account?
You ever meet a Native American that's from a tribe that gets no tax money, like, or no
How'd
benefits?
That happen?
Well, if you don't got casinos and stuff bringing in money, you don't get you get a piece of the pie. If it's a little pie, It's like, so you meet some of those Native Americans, like, man, if I was just born in this tribe, like 30 miles away, 6 figures a year.
Yeah, I've never met
collecting.
One. That's kind of a damn shame, though.
Yeah, I mean,
but if that was me, I'd try to organize that tribe up. Like, let's go.
I would definitely.
All we need to do is go.
How do I put a casino down?
Everybody's gonna bet.
Everyone's got to do it.
So I've been meaning to. I knew I was gonna ask you this when we talked about it at the bar, man. So tell us about the. You were telling us about kind of the sheath. The electrical sheath we have over our bodies, man. And just to kind of preface this, and you can obviously speak on it better than I can, but you know, you meditate. I'd classify you as, you know, spiritual, right? And obviously very knowledgeable, more knowledgeable than I am. So please tell us about this electrical sheath that's pretty new in the scientific field, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big idea, and well, so, you know, I'll back it up. What happened to me was I have this really bad sciatic nerve injury. Like, I remember I went to a chiropractor when I was like 27, 28, and they took an x-ray, and chiropractors are so fake, I don't even know if the x-ray was fucking real, but I assume it was. Right. And in the x-ray, it looked like my last 3 vertebrae hooked, like literally like a hook to the left. And he was like, and I was in a lot of pain, so it made sense at the time, so it made sense. So like, I literally, from that point forward, I was on this non-stop sort of struggle to straighten my vertebrae, right, my back. And, you know, I went through all sorts of different types of things, from yoga to strengthening to this to that, you fucking name it, I did it, massage, everything. And there would only be like partial fixing. So what actually happened was I was kind of on this quest to figure out what my problem was. Now, it seems to be something that's like a degenerative DNA issue that you're kind of like, you're predispositioned with when you're born. Like, I have other buddies who have the exact same problem, like my friend Merrick, who owned Tits, who we all know. He had the exact same problem I had. He went
in the shirt?
Yep. That's like, he went to high school. That's like our crew. He went to high school with us. So we used to fucking kick it with him. I used to go all around the country and world with him. He had the exact same issue at the exact same time, and he went and had the surgery where they go up and they fucking cut up your ass crack, and they go into your back and they straighten it.
Oh. Crazy.
And then they sew you back up. Legit. This is the only surgery that they give for this exact problem, which is a degenerative nerve disease, which actually a lot of people suffer from, some more than others. Now, I was a rower for like 8-10 years, and I was like an athlete, but always endurance, so grinding on my muscles, you know, and that didn't help. But this actually, I remember when I was in kindergarten, I couldn't cross my legs.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, I was the only kid in class. I was like, why don't my legs cross?
Really?
Yeah, because it was a degenerative thing I was born with, where like my shit was fucked up, right? So like, what actually happened was I'm laying there and I'm 30 years old and I'm on my back, and I'm like, it was the second time that month that I had injured the same, where I had ended up with the same injury of my sciatic nerve, where like I get laid out for a week. And I remember where it was happening every month, and this time it happened twice in a row. Right. And I'm like, yo, I'm only 30, like I'm fucked. So I was like crying, like in a depression, and like one of my lowest points in my life. And this was before 40, before all this stuff, and I was like kind of, you know, hardcore partying back then a lot more. And
well, how old are you now?
I'm 38.
Okay, I thought you said after 40 or something. I was like, what?
No.
Oh yeah.
No. So
I got stoner memory and stoner ears.
Yeah, no, you flashed into like a different part of the conversation where I said what I'm planning on doing after I'm 40. Yeah. This is my new profession. Okay, so this happened to me though, like when I was around 30, maybe 31, right around then, and so I swear, like I had the flash. I'm laying on my couch, right, in my old place, the 2-story spot in Belltown, and had like this flash come over me where I literally didn't really even like know where I was for a second. Then I felt something that felt like a bunch of information coming into my brain. Like I felt the top of my brain heat up, right, where I felt like I was taking on like a whole bunch of intel. Yeah. And then I'm sitting there and something comes over me like a wave where I'm seeing all these images in my head. And the thing I'm seeing in my head is I'm seeing like breakdancers first. Because of course I spent years working with the Massive Monkeys. Absolutely. All the way from Franklin all the way till current time. Yeah. I'd spent like,
was that 2014, 15?
Yeah, right around then. And I spent like thousands upon thousands of hours analyzing breakdancing and working with breakdancers, and like, you know, I was never a breakdancer, but I like to dance, and like being kind of like, you know, and then of course I started noticing that all their body, like every time they moved, it was all focused on their core, like never moved. Yeah. Everything spun around their core, like a wheel, like in all different directions, but the core stayed flat. Yep. Then I thought about athletes, and all athletes had actually the same exact thing occurred, where the core never moved and everything else moved around the core. and the cord was like stuck. Like it was actually stuck on a track almost.
Yeah.
Like a track. And so I visualized this, and then this energy came over me. I mean, granted, I'm like in a tremendous amount of pain, laid down on the couch, sort of like just in my own, wallowing in my own fucking disgusting misery. And like, nothingness, privileged misery. But like it felt fucking miserable.
That reverse white privilege.
Yeah, but I don't care how privileged. It felt miserable.
That's a good name of the book right there.
Depressed. In every sense of the word.
Was that the most depressed of your life?
Maybe not. But it was definitely right there. Like there's been some long nights after the fucking white girl that I felt worse.
Yeah.
But like that was back in my early 20s. Yeah. This was more like the worst I'd ever felt up to that point. And I got this what I felt like was a download, where I saw this information coming into my brain, where I'm like, wait, so everything is spinning, like everything is stuck on your core, it doesn't move ever, and everything's spinning around it, so everything must be aligned on your core. Right. Like that one spot in the middle of your body that's right at the bottom of where my sciatic nerve was off, that's actually your alignment point. Right. Like where your entire body, and as an athlete, you know this, dude.
Yeah, your central nervous system.
Yeah, it all moves around that one, at the bottom of your sciatic nerve, and mine was off. So that was actually like a really big ass problem. So I at the time I was doing some work with a naturopath. It was this Bowen work, which was the invention of a doctor from Australia in the 50s, where he invented this technique that was so powerful that he had it was actually invented originally to like prevent labor pains, or to mitigate labor pains for women. And so he had pregnant women lined up all the way down the block outside of his clinic, like for blocks, because he'd figured out this way to mitigate all their pain. This is what, and his name was Dr. Bowen from Australia, right? And the technique was just super non-invasive. Like you just put like a few fingers on a certain point in your body and rub in like a circle pattern one time, and then like you leave it alone for 5 minutes. Right. It like made no sense why it worked, but I had a friend who was a naturopath who was working with me on this, and actually like was doing it on me, because I had this fucking nerve, and it's when the sciatic nerve is off, every part of your body's off. Your shoulders are off, your elbows hurt, your knees hurt, your feet hurt, your ankles hurt, your heels, everything, your fucking neck hurts. Like your entire body hurts in different ways, because all of your energy is basically, with every step you take, you're throwing it off worse. Yeah. You're spending like, you're putting 60% of your weight on your left foot and 40% on your right foot. So every step is like miscorrect. Like
if you notice yourself lean, like we were talking about earlier, if you notice yourself, kind of when you stand, kind of lean in one way, something's off, right?
Exactly. So, like, and pretty much everyone does that. Yeah. You kind of lean to one side or the other, and you're cutting off circulation and energy. And so I was kind of like having this crazy advanced visualization all this, while at the same time seeing how movement actually worked. And I got up out of the couch, and I started like my body. So when I grew up, my dad was a big time Buddhist meditator. My mom and my dad were the oldest Buddhist meditating couple in America.
Really?
Well, Vipassana meditation, which was this powerful thing that came through in the 60s.
How do you know this? For the asshole trolls that are gonna be like,
they sat the first course that was given in Massachusetts for Vipassana meditation ever in America. They sat that course, and they've been sitting ever since. My dad
meditation is huge, man. Like, I don't do as much as I should, but
and I'm not like making some big claim, but like, no, because believe me, my mom isn't an everyday meditator, and my father is definitely not.
No.
Yeah. So.
Well, no. I did meet.
He's not a monk.
No. I take that back. I did. I met him at the cookie opening.
Yeah, you did.
That's where we met. Is the cookie opening.
That's right. And I mean, he is. He's a tremendous guy. But like, he definitely he was funny as shit. Meditation.
Yeah. Remind me his name.
Joel.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like,
I hope I have that much energy when I'm that age, man. I meet some of those people that I look at my kids and I look at older people. Like, man, I wish I had that much energy now, and I hope I have that much energy then.
I'll tell you, you want to have that much energy, just get extremely anxious about fucking everything.
I thought you were gonna say Viagra.
That too, but like that won't even do it. Even like massive anxiety, but like the idea was just that I was instilled with this meditation idea. Like I sat my first 10-day course when I was 16. I sat pretty much straight through. There was times I didn't, for sure, and especially like when the less I sit, the more injured I get. Yeah, it's all connected, right? So
that's why a lot of the work-based stations, like they got the the desk that you stand on, right? That you can raise and lower.
Yeah.
You know, and that's huge. Just don't be sitting down all day. Like if you can stand up, like it's sitting. The act of sitting down is just so bad for your body and your posture long term that.
It is, and especially even if you. So it's all about if you sit correctly, you're okay. If you stand
if you have the posture,
okay.
No,
if you stand incorrectly, you're just as fucked as sitting incorrectly. Maybe worse.
I agree.
It creates this. Yeah. So like I'm laying there, and then I get this like visualization where I'm seeing like, okay, balance. I don't have balance. Clearly, balance is my problem. So what the fuck is it all about? So the other thing that my dad did a lot when I was young, especially, was Tai Chi. And he wasn't some kind of great Tai Chi guy, but like he used to do it in our backyard all the time, and I just watch him.
And for the people like me who are like somewhat know what Tai Chi is, what is Tai Chi exactly?
So Tai Chi it's just a movement asana, which an asana is like a meditative practice, but it's a movement type of meditation rather than like a standing one where you're focusing on the movement of energy of your chi. Which is your core energy, and how you can spread the balance of your core energy throughout your body and throughout the world. And I don't know very much at all.
Well, we were talking earlier about how energy and physically and scientifically, energy never dies. It's just transferred.
Correct. And it actually energy is so like energy is aggregated. Let's just say that. It's not created or destroyed, but it's aggregated, like in the sun. It's aggregated in the sun, in the core of the earth. It's aggregated in the core of the man or the woman.
Is there a core of Earth, though?
What's that?
Is there a core of Earth?
Just for the basis of science, there is, because I'm not going to flat earth this shit, because I don't believe in that shit, because I can prove I know physics.
Well, let's get there at the end of the show.
I actually know physics, so I don't get scared.
You know theoretical physics.
I know, everything's theoretical.
On that I agree.
I wasn't there.
And we're not gonna go there. But I think one of the things about somebody like you, who I've only met a few times, right? But we've when we do hang out, is for an extended period of times and we go deep. But the one thing about you is like, and the same with me, and the same with Whiskey Papi over here. It's like it's so refreshing to meet somebody that doesn't get offended or doesn't feel uncomfortable just because you don't agree on something. No matter how strong it is. I mean, at a certain point, like morally, right?
There's very little I disagree with. That's the fucked up thing, because the idea of disagreeing, it's like
disagreeing is beautiful.
Yeah, but how are you gonna disagree?
You'll never learn. You'll never grow. You'll never get out of your comfort zone if you're not disagreeing. If you're not like I always tell people, like if you don't believe if somebody challenges you on something, right?
Right.
Don't go to all the sources that are going to support you. Go to all the sources that are going to say the opposite of you. Or challenge you, because that's how you work through the shit.
Yeah, and I'm not big on like a disagreeing. You can't disagree with like opinions are. Like I don't disagree with opinions ever. I'm like, okay, that's your world.
But when you say you can prove it, we might have to go there later.
Yeah, well, science is different. That's something that's like.
But so
it can substantiate.
What I always try and like separate, because I'm huge into. I think we have a similar mind. Like I'm huge into philosophy and spirituality.
Right.
And the great unknown, right? Like I think if you think you know everything, you're wrong. And if somebody tells me they know everything, or if I get that sense that they feel like they know everything, I'm automatically kind of gonna disassociate myself or put up a barrier, right? I think somebody like you who speaks confidently in what they believe in, it's not supported by what you say, but it's supported by how you say it, right? And like me to you, like it's you believe everything you say. And people around me, whether I'm, my friends think I'm batshit crazy or not, they know that I believe it, and I have a foundation of my belief. Right or wrong doesn't matter, right?
Sure.
But it's tough for those people. I almost did stand-up comedy the other day.
Really?
So I had this dream, right, that I was doing stand-up, and I was getting booed off stage, right? This dream I had. I swear to God. And like the next week, I don't know what it was. Some online. I think I don't know what it was, but. I saw that La Jolla, outside of San Diego, or northern San Diego, had a comedy store, and they had an open mic on this Wednesday. And I'm just like, right when I saw it, I'm like, I got to do it. I hit on my boy Jake. He was like, yeah, I'm coming. I'm like, I'm going to go flat earth drop this shit. I'm going to go fucking libtard this shit. I'm going to go pro-Trump this shit. I'm going to go pro-life, pro-choice debate on it. I'm going to see how many people I can offend. Just what I wanted to do. I had this vision that I was getting booed off stage, so I just wanted to go. I wanted to go right that wrong. I wanted to go. I wanted to go. I was like telling myself, especially like with women and meeting people, I like to give them the worst version of myself first. I'm not worried about giving you the best, unless business is different. And,
I get it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But just out, free, like at the bar earlier, where we can just, there's no cameras, there's no audio, right? Yeah. We're not here to impress anybody. There's no, finances or financial gain involved. I like to just go, just dig myself a hole and see how far I can dig before I can start working my way out and get out. And sometimes you don't get out. But you know what? I've learned from not getting out and failing and getting rejected. Yeah. 10-fold more than, when I meet let's call it an easy target.
Right.
And succeed, back in my overseas days.
Sure.
And it's, but I think I think Will Smith has kind of given a little new face to it. Gary Vee does a decent job too, speaking on it, but like, you have to embrace failure. Like, I seek failure. Not that I'm ever going into something wanting to fail or planning to fail, but I'm going to do things where I know that it's possible. And even that I know that the likelihood is greater than that of succeeding, because that's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to push yourself. And I think somebody like you, man, where you're going out and you have that entrepreneurial type mind where, you're like, all right, fuck it. If it doesn't work out, fuck it. But you either win or you learn, right? Yeah. So tell us how you kind of got out of that depression, and then like how, because you have the nightclub experience, right. You have the medical experience with PDA and stuff. You're obviously doing things now. You're kind of into, I think, shifting more towards branding and being able to diversify. And I think the tough thing with it, you probably speak on with the legal state-to-state cannabis game, is that it's state-to-state. Yeah. You are constricted, you're bound, you're caged in a sense. Yeah. And even in Washington, you can't vertically integrate. You can't, own the supply and own the retail. Kind of speak to what takes, if say you're not where you want to be, you kind of into that little rut. What does it take to get out of that, and then what does it take to kind of find what your niche is or what your calling is? So for me, like, I'm gonna have to get some new chairs. Oh, you're good. So basically, I started seeking balance. Like, that was the only thing that kind of got me fucking anywhere. Like, my fundamental belief is that we're single-handedly fighting ourselves. Like, that's what every day is about. Like, our capability to maximize our own potential exists in our own ability to destroy the part of us that wants us destroyed. And each one of us has that thing inside of us that wants us dead. And the part of us, and like those of us who have even greater potential have a bigger, I'd say, black kind of hole that's trying to suck the life out of you. So for me, like, on finding balance was like this interesting moment where I'm laying there and I see in my head the Tai Chi that my father used to do. And I stand up and I start performing my own version of it.
Mm-hmm. While in excruciating pain?
Yeah. But like almost to where, like, because I was like an endurance athlete, so I was trained on what pain really is. It's just like managing this thing in your head that's not real. Yeah. Like, so I'm like pushing myself to push through that pain and actually to push into the pain. Like, rather than trying to avoid the uncomfortable feeling, I'm like, okay, find the uncomfortable spot and push into the discomfort to where you can actually find something inside of that discomfort that feels stable. Yeah. And then once it feels stable, stay there. So I spent like 2 or 3 hours on this. And at the end of that time, something like popped right in my spine, where I actually like popped my spine back into place for a brief moment. And I felt this energy just discharge out of the top of my head, like this release. And something balanced in my brain. And what actually balanced in my brain was that, like, the only thing that mattered was balance. Like, when you're actually balanced, you can just follow your track that your core is already set on, and you can live and you can kind of maximize your potential. So I chased that down, and by the age of 32, when 4E was like popping big time in like 2012, absolutely, 4E was off the hook, PDA was launched, and it was off the hook. I like was totally balanced in my physical and my mental, and to the point where what happened was the balancing destroyed my ego, because I realized that all these parts of me that was like super like boastful was the same things that actually threw my correction off. It was like this weird connection I made. And so like once I felt this supremacy again and I rose to the top of the game, you know, Launch 40, Launch PDA Lounge, PDA Magazine, was smashing Hempfest again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I felt like I was untouchable and I was about to build $1 billion company, and that went to my head, and slowly my balance started shifting off again without me even knowing it at first. And then, you know, fast forward 1.5 years, 2 years, I got a girl and a daughter now. Yeah. And by this point, I'm so far off that like I had completely went from balanced in 2012 to 2016, where I was like, I had no feeling in my right foot. Like I was back into the worst possible place physically and mentally.
Yeah. You're depressed or?
Hella depressed. I lost all my companies.
Okay.
I lost PDA. I'd lost PDA agency. I'd lost everything. Yeah. And I fell back into this massive rut, worse than the first one. Way worse, because I'd actually touched the top of the mountain, the balance, and I felt like this.
Once you touch it, it's tough to get off it.
Yeah.
Bro, I was like down to 175. I was like down. I had this perfection feeling. My mind, everything was like flowed.
Yeah. You saw everything.
Yeah, I used to run 16 miles every Sunday.
They talk about
I was on this crazy shit, bro. I was on some other weirdo
boxing and all that too.
Boxing all the time. Like I was just like way out.
Yeah.
And like even in the gym and when I was boxing and stuff, like people were just kind of like blown away. Like my physical was like all the way there, my mental was all the way there, and my balance. I was meditating an hour every day. Yeah. You know, like everything had come together for me. And then I added these pieces to the formula, and it fucking. I can write a book on what happened, what it did to my psychology, to throw it back into disbalance. And so what the last 2.5 years of my life has been about, since I launched Hash, and, you know, linked up with the Cookies family, linked up with Exotics, and linked up with all these big names, and done a lot of, you know, done some really cool things and had the opportunity to work with some great people. But what it's really been about is it's been like this story of me trying to refine my balance. Because I spend every day doing corrective procedures to kind of like refix my physical, but it's way more difficult now because I got a family. I got hella mouths to feed. I got way more stress. I don't have any of the time I had before. I could spend 6 hours a day stretching, bro. 6 hours a day.
Easy.
When I was single and just chilling, I'm like, dude.
Hey, bro, stretching has, since retiring from football in 2000, I don't even know anymore, 14-ish. Stretching is, to a lesser extent, saved my life.
I'll smoke weed. I'll meditate first. I'll meditate on a bench, which kind of focuses you into like positions that just kind of like stretch you out naturally. And then I'll spend like an hour, 2 hours after that stretching. And then I'll just start popping my alignment back in place by doing like hold positions.
I think we were talking about earlier, like for me, you know, just kind of self learning my body. Right, because I think everybody's different, you know. Like for me, my back, right, you know,
right.
All the years, like, you know, I don't lift weights anymore.
Can't.
Like once a week, I'll do like some light weights, but really, I'm just doing boxing, kickboxing,
right, and bodyweight,
Muay Thai type stuff, and all bodyweight type stuff. So I'll flip the tire, you know, the big tractor tire stuff, and
pull ups,
you know, but you know, all bodyweight type stuff,
right.
You know, just because for me, like, it's like, man, it's like that, it's a lot of work, and like the whole thing with the CrossFit. It's great and all, and challenging yourself and mentally, but like
I broke my back like the third time I was there.
Yeah, you need to think about what you're doing and why you're doing it.
I was smashing those people on the earth, though, bro. It's killing everybody. And they're like, "Have you rode before?" I'm like, "Yeah, bitch." Yeah. For 10 years, I'm like, "Whoa, your splits are crazy." Like I was pulling these. I was doing the 500s. I was pulling like 135s, 140s, and like they're like. And then after that, they're like, okay, pick the thing up and run, you know, with the fucking kettlebell. And I'm like, okay, as a rowing, I used to coach. Like, after you do anything with this lactic acid threshold shit.
Shout out some exotics, man.
Yeah.
If you haven't been to exotics, is exotic only in Exotics?
Exotics only in Washington.
Right. Yep. Exotics, man, Washington State, have a heart.
Shout out.
If you know,
go get it, go cop it.
I gotta tell you, this is the most prestigious brand in the state, in my opinion.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I'll always shout out Gold Leaf because I love the Hawaiian culture.
Likewise.
and the
I fuck with
and
them.
the no-till and stuff.
I have an eighth of their shit in my car right now.
I love Gold Leaf, and I love Exotics, man.
I like Lifted too.
There's some other good
You know,
ones.
lifted. I will say the reserve line has impressed me. I love it. The mint julep, I love.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, there's good shit flares up everywhere.
Not
Seattle Pride Reserve has good stuff every once in a while.
Not gonna lie. Like I don't like a lot of GMO strains, but this one is the only strain of GMO I smoke.
I know it is the best one because GMO smells like fucking like the garbage.
I don't like garlic in general, but this one
I'm
here.
Greek, baby. Bring that garlic over here.
But that one smells bomb.
This one,
like,
I smoke all the time.
I'm Greek, you know, because like my papu lived by like, you know, garlic bread and milk. And I don't do milk, but you know, garlic bread and milk for him. Garlic for me. I don't do bread either. But
garlic is bomb though.
But Dr. Sebi fucked me up because he said garlic was some bullshit too. I never looked into it, and I still
did he?
Eat garlic.
I don't think that's true.
No, he did. No, I watched it. He said
Dr. Sebi said garlic was bullshit.
Yeah, one of those everything causes cancer. So
garlic though.
Yeah, that's what I said. I didn't look into it. No, he said it.
I gotta look into that.
No, he said it.
I'm big on Dr. Sebi, bro.
I am too. And we can do like having an alkaline diet, and like so for everything is mucus based, and that's why I did from January 1st to, you know, the 1st of February this last year. My family bet me I couldn't be a vegan for a month, and I did it. You know, it wasn't too bad. The only time it was hard is when I was traveling. And then, like, you know, when you're traveling and you can't, like, plan what you're eating. Then it's like, oh, you're at a restaurant, you're looking at this steak or these wings, this burger, this pasta. And you know, certain shit. And then it gets a little more difficult. But I did it, right? I did it. I had a lot of energy. I felt great. I felt clear-headed. You know, like a lot of times, I think Kyle Cushman said it best with, like, the difference between vegan weed and other things, like, you know, it's like the difference between you imagine going and eating a Thanksgiving dinner, right? Just hearty, calorie-filled, rich food.
Yeah.
Now, shit's amazing, but how do you feel the next day? You know, a little groggy, a little slow. How do you feel when you're eating it? You're eating it, right? Going back to thirds, right?
Yeah.
You know, then you relate that to like a sushi dinner, right? You know, where I can eat sushi all day.
Right.
You know, so it's just that difference, right? It's just what you're putting in your body, and like, you know, it kind of got at me. But yeah, when he brought up, you know, and so back to the mucus thing, like, every disease you have that's termed something is just where the mucus goes and builds up.
Right.
You know, because think about this, right? And we were having a talk about it. And even I heard Dr. Sebi smoked cigarettes. I'm gonna have to look into it, but you know, it doesn't.
Did he smoke cigarettes?
I don't know. Supposedly, I never looked into it. I don't care.
I don't think so.
But
I don't even think he drank milk.
You know, but like you think about this, the United States Supreme Court took this man to trial, and he won.
Yeah,
because he was claiming that he proved cancer and heart disease and everything else, and he's like, and this is it. I remember the interview where he was asking the judge. He was like, he just started asking, you know, what's the root cause of X? You know, like it was like, you know, he just started going down the laundry list of different diseases. But what's the root cause of everything? Mucus. It's just where that mucus builds up in the body. They have a different term for it. So it's the same shit, just where it builds up. And then, you know, if it gets in the colon, they call it that. If it's in the heart, they call it that. If it's in the, you know, wherever part of the body, they call it that. And it's, you know, it's like this man took the United States Supreme Court
and won
to trial and won.
Yeah, they took him to trial.
That's crazy, bro.
And you know, it's crazy because it's like it's the same thing I was talking about with calcium deposits with the interstatia. It's like this it's like this buildup, and so like the interstatia finally got actually recognized as an organ in, you know, by Western medicine in the last 12 months. And the interstatia, what happens is calcium deposits goes in and blocks pieces of it. So the interstatia wraps all your muscles, all your ligaments, and your bone structure, and it's an electrical sheath that passes brain waves, any kind of electrical current. But doctors have come out and they've said, okay, we recognize this as an organ. We're not sure what it does yet, but we are sure that this is how cancer spreads. So it's a connective layer. Right? Now, this same interstitial layer is what people are working on when they give you anything from like Ralphing to Bowen to cupping to acupuncture. It's all focusing on that layer that's right below the skin. And so like that layer actually is the tissue that you need to kind of work and to mitigate in order to make sure that like the blood is flowing smoothly through your whole body. So like, for instance, when you have like a blockage in part of your body, it's your interstatia, it's the calcium that's depositing in your interstatia that's causing you to hunch or to walk with a limp. That's the actual thing that's causing you to walk with that limp. It's not an injury to your ligament or an injury to your bone. It's that layer. So you need to you need to get all the calcium out of that layer, and the limp will go away naturally. Your body will naturally self-correct. Like your body's built to self-correct. Yeah. But we actually we don't do what's necessary to allow that, and it's not just like a typical stretching routine that'll necessarily do that for you.
Do you also believe in I'm a strong believer in I hate the word I can't. Because when people say I can't, you're
three if you look like
you're telling yourself you cannot.
I cannot. I can't.
I cannot.
Can't not do this.
Can't do it.
Double negative.
Also, if you're telling yourself you can't do this, and you can't do this, your body's going to
build a wall.
Yeah,
I mean that's like
this. That's your spirit.
Yeah, I mean that's the secret, right? So the secret is
you gotta manifest. Just like they tell a quarterback or a basketball player or a baseball player or a hitter or a pitcher,
right?
Or somebody kicking the PK in a soccer game. From the businessman going into a business deal or the student going into a presentation.
Right.
You have to visualize it.
You do.
This is sports psychology. This is human psychology. This is life psychology. And I let's touch on not to switch up gears too much, but I think the one thing that we have at this table, is street smarts, and I think street smarts get muddied in the water of what that means, right? Because I think if you say you're street smart,
give Dustin that much credit, bro. I'm kidding.
Well,
no, he's smart.
I mean, he picked up on sexy Drake, so you gotta give him a little bit of street cred.
You give him Pappy out there.
Remember Sexy Kingpin?
But I think like growing up, right? I always told you, I'm street smart. Because I went to college at a liberal type school, down at the University of Puget Sound, and people literally thought I was a gang member. I'm from the suburbs. I was the rich kid at my school. You know what I mean?
What are you talking about?
What? Because I wear my my high school's athletic gear, I'm a fucking gangster now. Jesus. But it's just I had. But it's I think everybody at this table knows how to adapt, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you have to be able to adapt. You have to be versatile. I think Kanye said it about Jay-Z is he can operate in a room of snakes, and where I can't. He can shapeshift in a sense,
right?
And he can go into a room and I always tell people I've never met somebody I can't get along with.
Sure.
I can choose not to, really easily, but if I have to, I've never met somebody that could offend me, affect me, or change my state to the point where I felt like I couldn't just get along with them if I had to.
Yeah.
And I think it's that ability to kind of. And what I say by street smart isn't necessarily street smart. It's just people smart, right? My pops worked for GE Finance for a lot of years when they were the number one finance firm or corporate finance firm in the world. And he's and he had 17 people working for him, and he would always tell me, I got these Ivy League kids coming, these guys coming in, all these people out coming in all the time. But rarely ever do I hire somebody from the Ivy League because they have just this pre-notion, this set of, they call it privilege if you want, right? Where he's no, I want that motherfucker who came in that wasn't given any handouts, that came hungry, just like your everyday sports fan or a musician comes from, where they came from nothing, so their desire was to make something.
Sure.
And it's and I always tell people this from it's if you want to call me a rich kid, shit, I'll be a rich kid. That's fine. But I always tell people from the rich kid perspective is I'm not driven by money. I'm I have a safety net that I can always fall back on through family, right? And I know that, and I understand that, right? So that allows me to take more risks, right? To put myself out there more, to embrace failure more because I have a safety net,
right?
And these people that come up without that safety net, it's all or nothing. So when you're going into something with all or nothing, it's the same reason I didn't go for the NFL and I chose to go overseas is I understood look, I got some X amount of 40 speed white legs. I'm gonna have to juice to get to the next level, and I knew that, and I didn't want to juice, right? And not just if you don't know that about sports, I'm just telling you right now.
Hey.
Yeah,
it's real.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying. Shout out, Bill Bell.
Absolutely.
But
whatever you do.
But for me, it's I understood that I knew just being in the world that I grew up in and being in that competitive environment that I grew up in, is there were people out there that were hungrier than me in the football world that are going to go in there and they're going to concuss themselves until they beat me.
Right.
That their life depends on it. My life didn't depend on it. So I went overseas and I chose lifestyle over career, right?
Did your head get beaten overseas at all?
No, no, man. I'm not. I was like AI, man. I was game time. Practice. You know, like you know, my coach. Every coach I ever had, my high school coach and my college coaches would always say it. Like, you know, the one thing about Dimitri Huffman is when you show up game time, he's gonna put his life on the line. I'm not doing that from Sunday to Friday.
Right.
Saturday, you got me. 100%, I'm putting my life on it. You know, like the AI thing was taken out of context, right? Like if you really go back and watch that interview, it was taken out of context. It wasn't like he would just brought it up out of nowhere. You know, like
it's the way he said it though. The soundbite was
right.
perfect.
You know, but it's that thing. It's like, look, we talking about practice. It's almost that thing. Like why are you talking? Like you can bring up the same thing you just brought up to me, but don't put it in the context of practice.
Right.
Because you know I'm the motherfucker out there on game night.
Well, he was averaging what, like 28
and putting his body on the line. You watch that man play the game.
Yeah, he plays crazy. He's
offense,
6'2".
defense.
Yeah.
Putting, you know, like there's certain people, and I think you have this right. That the higher the stakes, the higher the pressure, the better you perform. Like correct. I'm one of those people, right? And like and
I need it I need it all the way turned up.
Yeah, it's like people. It's like people who wear sandals. It's like, okay, we're soul brothers.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Same way with you. You know, where you have that grit. You know, like no matter what anybody says about you, you put me in the fire. I'm coming out that bitch. Like
that's
you have
true.
that confidence, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
You have to.
And it's beyond a confidence. It's an aura, and you know, and I think you carry that. You know, like there's not a lot of people that can just sit back and let talk for. You know, like right. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just, you know, keep going, like, to have my attention. You know, you're one of those people, you know, and to be here with Whiskey Papi over here, you know, like, this is, and I always say this every episode at least once, you know, it's a beautiful thing that all our paths can cross here today. And I think it's even better that you didn't know that it was me when we were walking up.
It's even better, bro. You know, I had no idea that you were the Urban Hippie. It makes sense, though. Now it makes total sense.
I'm going to put my flowers on part 2. We might have to go part 2 in here.
It makes total sense, though.
I didn't know you knew that. Yeah, I thought it was all. I thought you knew everything.
But no, I had no fucking clue. I don't know how I would know.
That's cool. That's cool. I like that.
That's like one of the.
Glad this
happened. So what you got coming up, man? I mean, I know you got a bunch of projects, man. What's next?
I mean, you know, just working on locking down some bigger, better brands for Washington, moving the game into fucking Oregon and California and a bunch of other states and all that, which is cool. But like, you know, I'm also focusing on trying to create.
Yeah.
You know, which is something that has been like a huge block for me.
Yeah.
You know, D, I know you told me recently that you just, you know, you put a few books out or you put one out and you're almost done with another one. Like for me, I'm trying to put some of these ideas that have been just matriculating in my brain, you know, into a different kind of format, which is, it's a highly complicated task. And I also have some interesting stories to tell as well, you know, and I want to help my father kind of get his story out into the world because he just came from like a really cool time and some really unique things happened. I think he has a good perspective on how the weed shit really happened from New York to Washington.
Your dad's a cool cat, man.
He's crazy. Man, yeah, from the 60s till now.
Absolutely.
Like he was in a position to tell a really cool part of the story, which was like how a lot of the smuggling went down, how a lot of that shit went down. How a lot of the laundering went down, and then all the way into like our little Washington tale, which is unique as fuck because we were the state that legalized weed to the current standard, not Colorado.
Absolutely.
So
no,
like
we were number one.
Yeah, and you know the little company
we
built had a good.
The reason Colorado went so fast is because they had no medical backing.
Yeah, well, and they also they didn't have to deal with fucking ATF. Like they're not dealing with the ATF to this day. We are.
Yeah.
Like they still don't have to deal. Like they still don't deal with the liquor board.
Even on the card game, man. Remember that?
No, dude. They don't have. They have a cannabis board that's state mandated. Yeah, that doesn't talk to the feds, doesn't talk to the ATF, which the liquor board is an ATF agent.
No wonder they're doing better than us.
Yeah, but they're also like they're not.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's not scalable.
It's
mob shit. It's not scalable. So you go to Colorado, you have a successful business. It's not going to scale anyway.
I mean, and you've been there. It's just so. I mean, I don't like shitting on anything, but I was not impressed.
It's poopy.
It really is.
Compared to that West Coast.
Colorado.
That humid climate.
And their landlocked.
The climate makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's plus just like we have a higher standard out here. I mean, we've been smoking super bombs since the early 90s.
Come on now.
You know, I know it's been coming all over Seattle since fucking forever. And my boys from Cali used to come up here just blown away. Like even in the early 2000s.
Still do.
We like
boys
terps,
from the Bay.
We like terps
from Oakland who got good weed.
We would like I know the Bay branded it better and
they had Humboldt
and shit like that, but like with exotic type stuff. But But I mean, I love that you have the Exotics moniker, like, cause the thing that separates to me, like SoCal is OGs only, just gas only,
right? Gassy.
You know,
kush.
San Francisco is like cookies, and you know you'll broaden out.
But then
you
have Santa Cruz, which is super fruity. A lot of cool shit came out of Santa Cruz.
Yeah, and
the base so
California
big,
is
like
so
that, you know?
so massive. But like the one thing I love about the Pacific Northwest, especially Seattle in general, is like we love our flavors. We love our terps. You know, like we're terp. We're like terp crazy.
Cap. Yeah, we are terp crazy.
You know, and that's what it is. Like so many people don't understand that just like CBD is just the tip of the iceberg.
That's mad.
You know what I mean? Like you got CBGN full spectrum. Like you just you start getting deeper and deeper into it, and you start realizing the different terpenes provide different effects, and you know different terpenes provide the different profiles. Like
each profile is different.
Like you know, absolutely. It's like you know, and I think the one cool article I read, I don't know who, I want to say Ed Rosenthal, but I don't really remember. But basically, he was like making the claim that Kush is its own category, right? How it was just indica sativa. But he's saying like Kush is its own kind of like bloodline or you know, game tree in a sense. You do game theory at all? You heard of game theory?
I actually studied game theory. Yeah, that was the only one of the only classes I got.
Oh, really?
I got an A in it.
I got a C plus.
No, it was like I was a comp sci major, and I did pretty good in my major. But game theory is part of that shit, you know, because that's cognitive science. It's how your brain functions, you know. So it's like
my favorite class I've ever taken.
But that was the one class I got like an A plus, bro. Game theory.
That was my last semester.
It was senior year too, though.
Really?
Oh, see, I was checked out. I was like, you did better than me.
But my senior year, I was like on hella Adderall, just like smashing classes before it all went south. The addition.
Game theory is dope.
It happens.
And actually, I talk about game theory in the book, in the Ball in Brazil book, because it helped me make the decision of not going back to Europe and going down to Brazil, because I just did Austria. So Brazil. So in Europe, right? Germany had the biggest, like most, like NFL style league, right? Just most teams, quality competition spread out, right? The league I played in Austria was sponsored. Our team was sponsored by Red Bull out of Salzburg. We were an expansion team, and we had like 8 teams compared to Germany's 16, or like Italy's 12 to 14. And Italy was always
I can't
like
believe they have that many
football
teams.
And Italy had been playing football, or Italy and Germany had been playing professional football.
Just American football
since the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, bro.
Really?
And I mean, it was obviously like soccer here was back then, right?
Yeah, but there's like a good amount of following for it.
Yeah. So, bro, like, like some teams are getting like 10,000, 10 to 12, 10 to 15,000 people at a game. Like the Vienna Vikings, some of those German teams. You know, they're Parma Panthers.
Right.
You know, so like Austria, they did it the same way that they did at soccer, where they had your national league, and then you had like they call it like the what was it called? I don't know what it was called. Your EFL or something, like the European League, right? Like where the top 2 teams from every league play, and like the Premier League, right? It's called essentially the Premier League.
Okay.
And the Austrian teams would always win the Premier League. They had the best top 2-3 teams, but you know, the smallest league, right? And that was like one of my things was like I can make more and play in a little more competitive version of football. Going back to Europe, but then I was like, I had this Brazil offer, I like to make half as much.
Right.
I knew the competition would be, you know, minuscule, even compared to that. Like, but like for me, it was like anything outside of America is not competition. Yeah. Anywhere outside of America, you can't have more than two to 4 Americans on
soccer.
Yeah, no, for sure.
True.
Oh, and if you've ever been to a fucking soccer game overseas, I went to a Corinthians game. We got the first time I went to a Corinthians game, we were honored at a halftime of a game. They made us put on like helmets, shoulder pads. People were fully dressed, right? Like fully like in their full game outfits, right? Like walking around the track. I made my other American teammate forgot his jersey, and he didn't want to wear like a 92, and so like I gave him my 8. Right, because he was like bitching to the owners and stuff, and he's like, I'm not doing it. Like I'm not doing it unless I get a better number. But you're wearing a helmet anyways. The fuck do you care, right?
It's all for show.
But I'm like, look, I'll give you the number 8.
He didn't want to
you
wear
give me
92?
the 92.
Right.
I'm wearing a helmet. I was like, look, Susie, I don't have to wear I don't have to wear football pants or shoulder pads. Just I'm wearing a jersey and helmets on my, you know.
We were wearing like swim shorts or some shit.
No, they were fully. The team was fully dressed up, and like cleats. fucking football pants, shoulder pads, like the whole thing, because they were promoting the league. Because think about the Seahawks.
It's the jerseys though that gives people hype.
Yeah, think about the Seahawks owning the Sounders, right? Like the Corinthians is one of 3 Sao Paulo teams. They're like considered like compared to like the Raiders of Brazil, like where they're kind of like, it's like, so in Sao Paulo is like the New York of Brazil,
right?
And you got 3 teams in Sao Paulo. You got the Corinthians, which is like the lower class team. Sao Paulo is like the middle class team, and then Palmeiras is like the rich team, right?
Right.
So as long as you weren't Palmeiras, you were good, But it was like they were just there to promote it. But I had to use game theory in that, because I was like, look, I can go to Europe and have a little bit better competition, make more money, even though both were minuscule, or I can take a chance and go to Brazil and go to like a fucking dream come true type situation. Like I can go get paid to live in Brazil.
Right.
Yeah.
How was it living in Sao Paulo?
Let alone play football. It was dope. I would never do it again.
Really? Just crazy. I heard it's crazy there.
Yeah, it's like if you've been to New York, it's the same thing,
really?
but 15 years in the past.
Like in New York in the 80s, basically.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
I didn't know this until like 5 months in out of the 6 months. But I lived next to the largest drug hub favela in the city, Maudu favela in Saúde, right off Jabaquara, which is like the equivalent to like a 99. We got some stories, but we'll get to that.
We do.
I know I'm gonna have to make a camera change soon, but no, man. Have you been overseas? How much traveling you done overseas, or do you have?
I used to travel all the time. Like,
you have any cannabis aspirations overseas? Like Greece just legalized.
Yeah, no, that would be everywhere. Like hash will be, so right now hash is doing distribution nationwide.
You guys doing CBD and stuff?
Give us the background on hash too. How did hash get started?
All right, so basically hash is an extension of Agency PDA. Agency PDA was basically the same concept, just more dramatic. After that didn't work, I dumbed it down and launched hash, and just basically did it with me as the only person involved, and leveraging a lot of other people's resources to bring in big brands and just kind of expand them into Washington. It's sort of like what I call a 2.0 strategy. After everyone builds, then what does everybody do? So that's why I launched Hash. And now we're taking the same brands that we got, work with everyone from the Jungle Boys to Cookies to K for B to Clout Kings to Lemonade. We have a lot of other things, a lot of other good stuff coming. And now we're actually spreading.
What don't you got, man?
Shit. I don't have no
diversified.
I don't have that Urban Hippie.
Right. They say the average millionaire has like 7 different sources of income. So preach.
Well, those are all. That's one source. So that's still like just that. And then so then we're gonna spread those brands all into different states. Basically, what our job is to like control the quality. Yeah. The biggest issue with taking your product into other states, it's like, you got to be able to grow it to the same quality that you grew it to originally. That's fucking hard. That's where everyone's slipping up. Yeah. So that's where we're focused. We're hyper focused on that part. And everything else kind of falls into place.
Quality is key.
It's quality is everything in the weed. Yeah.
Consistency.
Consistency and quality. Like, you don't have to do a bunch of marketing. You got to bring it from a good source. The quality's got to be there. Consistency get there. Then the bud tenders are going to do all the work for you, bro. Yep. That's how this game works. It's like once you make the bud tenders believe in it, they will do your work. Yeah. So like Hash is 100% about that. So we're just all about bringing in the big genetics that people are hyped about. Yeah. Like, people are hyped about this new Cookies genetics. They're going to be fucking crazy. The Gary Payton, the fucking Snowman, the lemon pound cake, the fucking...
That lemon pound.
Preach.
The Georgia pie.
Can't wait for that
runts,
shit.
The white runts, the pink runts.
I know it's overused on Instagram, but we don't smoke the same.
No.
We don't smoke the same. If you know anything about Berm over here, man, there's certain people you meet that just they got that Cannabis for men natural odor.
Is that me?
You got that natural odor.
I was wondering why everyone looks at me crazy everywhere I go, bro.
And you know me, I'll be walking into places. I'm going to I'll go into like a nicer place or like somewhere I just maybe shouldn't be, right?
Right, I know, dude.
And people just look at me, right, and then they just
like, you're one of
judgment, right? Yeah. Judgment. I'll be smelling.
And you're good looking as fuck too. It's fucked up.
But see, that's why they got to give me a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I was at the Met last night, and I had an ounce of I had an ounce of the exotic something I was dropping on Louis for some personal.
Yeah, that's my guy. Shout out to Louis.
Yeah,
Luciano.
I was at the bar and he was super busy, so he couldn't grab it for me for like 20, 30 minutes, and like the whole fucking restaurant was
all day.
It's a little loud.
So
a little loud in
day.
there.
And I'm like,
I yelped about it.
Yeah, I know.
I yelped a bit. It was fucking loud.
It was
so
fucking
loud.
The Met's going to shit.
Yeah.
And I was in my sweatpants.
Is that like a steakhouse?
It's like the nicest steakhouse.
I don't go to like nice.
It's where Russell's.
I go next door.
Yeah.
You know,
I go next door.
That,
Russell, come to
No, you're at the Met, bro. Trust me, you're there. It's not that nice. It's drug dealer nice.
Yeah,
like drug dealers be at the Met.
Yeah,
I
used to go there with my ex all the time, and like same thing. Roll in.
I'm not paying the city tax.
Roll up to Louis, smelling like loud.
But you'll see the cool thing about Met is that it is an extremely high end steakhouse. Although I still think Daniel's might be better. Sorry, but like it's right there. And it's up there, but they still have like some gangster ass dudes working there too. Like your server might be a G.